In November 1974, the development of Richards Bay as a port and coal terminal started, and in consequence, changes in the bay environment inevitably resulted. Directly after the dredging started, a considerable increase in nitrogen and phosphorus were noted, according to a marine pollution report from 1974 to 1975, compared to levels earlier in the year before the dredging started. The concentration of nitrogen in suspended material in the water was exceptionally high. Now, nitrogen itself is not hazardous when present in water. However, large amounts of nitrate may cause eutrophication, which means an excess of nutrients, resulting in oxygen deprivation and fish death. Low oxygen levels lead to reproductive problems in fish, involving decreased size of reproductive organs, low egg counts, and a lack of spawning. Human health impacts result as well from ingesting these fish and prawns and mud crabs. In 1997, the presence of heavy metals in the marine environment was so profound that studies were done of the concentration of these metals in the port area. Metal concentrations showed a considerable increase in 1997 compared to 1974 from the construction of the coal terminal, and were much higher than international background levels for coastal environments. I remember growing up that the beaches in Richards Bay were often closed due to contamination after they had been dredging in the harbour. This meant that no one was allowed to enter the water for a few days at a time. Large warning signs were posted on the beach. The Richards Bay Coal Terminal, located in Richards Bay Harbour, is the largest coal export facility in Africa. Although built in 1976 for the export of coal, it's since expanded into other bulk and break-bulk cargoes. Dredging is performed on an ongoing basis inside the port and immediately outside the entrance using a trailed suction hopper dredger. Today, decades of pollution and dredging for waterfront development spurred by the rampant growth has robbed the bay of much of its verdant seagrass meadows and natural shoreline. The loss of habitat and dangerously low levels of dissolved oxygen in some parts of the bay has decimated once bountiful fisheries. For all these reasons, we are very worried about the proposed developments for the Fitzroy River Delta and the effect it will have on the health of the citizens, fauna, flora, and tourism in this area. We witnessed the degradation, destruction, and damage happen firsthand whilst growing up, and we definitely do not want to see the same happen in this beautiful Keppel Bay. Within a short 20-year period, the abundance and diversity of fauna and flora were decimated and destroyed as more industries followed to use the harbour built for coal exports. Where once in the mid-1980s you would witness 100 bottlenose dolphins playing in the waves, you would now witness a near miracle if one was spotted. Richards Bay is arguably the most polluted city in South Africa, with almost no marine life to speak of and a dirty brown ocean, once as clear as the Keppels. Many of our parents, but also our own friends who still live in Richards Bay and the surrounding area, have been diagnosed with cancer and respiratory problems. One of our friends died at the young age of 25. Oncologists in Richards Bay believe that the unusually high incidence of cancer in Richards Bay can be directly attributed to the high levels of industrial pollution. I once went into the chemotherapy ward with my friend who had to go for her treatment. I was shocked at over 40 patients being treated, and that was just the first of 4 sessions that day. A fine black dust always covered the surfaces of our homes and kitchens if the windows were left open. This not only affected Richards Bay, but also the neighbouring towns and environments up to 50 kilometres away due to prevailing winds and currents. Coal dust, as you might all know, is highly toxic. It accumulates the heaviest of metals, amongst other elements, most of which are biotoxic, and some of which are also radioactive. Coal contains arsenic, mercury, lead, cadmium, selenium, nickel, vanadium, and copper, and are accumulated and concentrated within coal and associated strata. As a child, until I left Richards Bay in 1999, I had chronic bronchitis, up to 8 times a year and sometimes for several weeks at a time. I was diagnosed with pneumonia 3 times, and coughing up blood was terrifying. My doctor believes this was caused by the fine coal dust. It would be important to note that since I've left Richards Bay, in the last 12 years I've only ever had bronchitis 3 times and pneumonia never again. Coal dust is the new asbestos, according to a recent report by the ABC News and the Central Queensland News on the 26th of August 2011. Gregory MP Vaughan Jones says, "Coal dust is lethal. This is why mines have strict safety protocols for their workers. Coal dust is also very light. The slightest movement of air, let alone prevailing seasonal winds, will lift it and carry it for kilometers." The United States of America's Labor Department for Occupational Health and Safety guidelines states, exposure to coal dust can occur through inhalation, ingestion, and eye contact. Coal dust is a tumor-causing agent. In humans, coal dust causes pneumoconiosis, bronchitis, emphysema, and extensive lung damage and lung cancer. If coal dust contacts the skin, workers should wash the affected areas with soap and water. Clothing contaminated with coal dust should be removed immediately, and provisions should be made for the safe removal of the chemical from the clothing. Persons laundering the clothes should be informed of the hazardous properties of coal dust. A worker who handles coal dust should thoroughly wash hands, forearms and face with soap and water before eating, using tobacco, using the toilet, or applying cosmetics or taking medication. Workers should not eat, drink, use tobacco products, apply cosmetics, or take medication in areas where coal dust is handled, processed, or stored. With the coal terminal just down the road, these risks will become a part of our everyday lives. Concentrations of arsenic are of particular concern, and there are well-documented cases of poisoning of groundwater by arsenic near coal mining and storing sites. Above ground, whether wind-blown from dried-up tailing ponds, coal heaps, or coal transportation, these toxic metals will concentrate in the sediments of streams and surface water supplies. The cycle of accumulation and concentration starts again, causing stream and river sediments to be less conducive to aquatic life, decreasing biodiversity and the health of waterways. Given its particular nature and its toxicity, it's all the more surprising that coal loads are not covered during transportation, although grain loads have to be. This anomaly seems to have to do more with economic pressure, cost of coverage, and process efficiency than any environmental concern. Jenny and I went to see the Fitzroy Terminal proponents on Tuesday, and although the information refers to covered conveyor belts, he could not assure us that it was enclosed, and the coal stockpile areas will always be uncovered. Coal dust cannot be contained safely as it